Alpi zar, originally from Costa Rica, now living in Mexico, yes, but he's now running the Association of Women's Rights and Development, another extraordinarily important organization. And AWID is the best chance we have of making sure this movement comes together and starts working on all cylinders as one. So Lydia is one of the most visionary and smartest thinkers in our movement that we have.
I think that the movement goes through different phases, and I think it gets born or reborn in different expressions as well. So if there is something that gives me hope, it's the certainty that women are resisting and struggling all over the world, even in the most remote places where there is conflict that is not recognized. And I think it's become increasingly complex and more difficult, because if we look at the current context today, even in countries and in regions where we have made incredible gains in democratic building, like my own, like Mexico and Central America, for example, the context is completely shifted again. Militarism is all over the place, intertwined with organized crime. Even though we're getting so much recognition of women's issues, resources to support the women that are on the front line are not there. With all this talk about women and recognition of women's issues in the mainstream, because we have a lot of recognition currently, what we're seeing is a lot of watering the leaves and starving the roots. That we actually have managed to survive and continue to multiply and resist, precisely because I think we have been very smart about using new communications technologies to connect. So my sense is that what we are reaching is a very important momentum, where I think we have a lot of ingredients that can help us make change happen in a more significant way. And so I do think that there is an incredible momentum, and I know that those movements are there. So I feel we need to find the right ingredients and combination to make those connections and really strengthen our capacity to work across borders, across issues, and so on. And I think we have become increasingly diverse as well. Indigenous feminists in my region are teaching us some of the most important lessons about resistance, but also about understanding violence. And how do we question the very roots of the violence that we are experiencing that have to be connected back to the model of development, to neoliberal economic policy, and to the logic and very basic feminist understanding that at the end of the day, violence is the key tool of patriarchy to oppress, exploit, and exclude us. How can we get everybody excited about the dream that we have? How can we learn to communicate it in a way that everybody wants to jump on board with us? I think we have a big challenge with the language we use and how we communicate. That it's a dream for everybody. I was watching the movie No the other day, and it's really interesting to see how this Chilean campaign managed to get people to vote against the dictatorship. And they had a big discussion with the left, and they wanted to show all the horrors of the Pinochet dictatorship. And when the publicists came and worked on the campaign with them, they said, if we do that, nobody's going to vote no. What are we going to do? And so the whole campaign was framed around happiness. Happiness is coming. And it was inspiring, and everybody got on board, and it was amazing. They managed to get Pinochet out. So I think we need to start dreaming big, but being really creative and daring in how we communicate and reach out to a broader audience. And I think we need to move beyond our comfort zones. We need to get into really scary spaces like the women on the ground do, but in different levels. We need to go and talk to the private sector. We identified 133 initiatives of the private sector over the last 2 years dealing with women and girls. The pledging represents $91 billion so far in counting. So clearly there is great interest and very complex questions that we need to be asking ourselves. So when you have these mainstream actors engaging, when we have all these opportunities, what do we do with them? And how do we engage in a way that we keep true to ourselves, but we can continue transforming and mobilizing resources? We need strong movements. There is very concrete research that came out last year, and the common variable to actually achieve policy changes on violence against women was a strong feminist movement on the ground. That was unapologetic in terms of making all leaders accountable. We can only achieve that if we can work together in a collective way and we get smarter about how do we tap the current opportunity, because I think it's pretty incredible what we're witnessing.